Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of the Spigot plugin tutorial series. Today we're going to be going over the basics of the Spigot API and how to get started writing Java plugins using IntelliJ and Spigot 1.13, which is the current development build that's been released today. If you decide to use Eclipse, you can also use Eclipse. I suggest and strongly suggest that you move over to IntelliJ, as I believe it's superior, and so do a lot of other people. We're going to be making a Spigot plugin using IntelliJ. Great. I'm also not going to go over how to make a test server. There's hundreds of videos on how to make a test server with the Spigot. Pretty much, it's download the latest version of Spigot and then follow any of those tutorials you find online. I'm not going to be doing that today. I'm going to open IntelliJ, go to Create New Project, go to Gradle, Java, make sure this is selected. It should automatically select it, so you don't have to worry about it. Click Next. Group ID should be something like me.yourname. I'm going to do blue.paradox. That's a website that I own, as paradox.blue. And then the artifact ID should be something like the name of your plugin. I'm just going to name this tutorial 1. Great. Use the project JDK. You want to put this somewhere. If you change the folder name, though, it won't suffix it with this, so you're going to have to add it. If it looks like this, it doesn't end with this, you should backslash the name of the project, so it'll make that. Click Finish, and it might say this. If it does say that, click OK. It'll create the folder for you. How fancy is that, you know? Once you get into IntelliJ, you're going to have all this. It's going to be cluttered. It's going to look gross. We'll fix it, kind of. Don't worry about it. You can get rid of that. Problem number 1 is we don't have a source folder. Problem number 1 is going to be fixed. We're going to go to Settings. We're going to type in Gradle in the search bar. Control-Alt-S also opens the settings, so you know, fancy stuff. You can use auto-import, create directories for empty content roots automatically. Otherwise, let's create the source folder without me having to do anything at all. It's great. After you're done with that, just click Apply and click OK. It's going to open up this window. It's going to say it's syncing. Just kind of wait for this to look like it's no longer doing anything. Common sense. It's pretty simple. Hey, look at that. Looks like it's done. Synced successfully at 7/24/2018, 11:02 p.m. So next, we're going to... Oh, let's not go so fast. Open up the source folder, go to main. This is where you're going to write all of your code inside of this package right here. We're going to also put some stuff in here later. We'll get there when we get there. Don't even worry about it. So in here, you want to right-click, click New, and Package. Here we're going to do the same thing that we put... Actually, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're going to go to build.gradle first, go to repositories, and here we have to put the actual Spigot repository, so we have access to it. This is just... It's just getting the repository, nothing fancy. And then underneath that, in the dependencies, we actually want to tell it to use it. Use Spigot API. I'll have these things in the description or paste pin somewhere. It'll be somewhere in the description. Just give it a look. Now we can go ahead and start actually writing some cool code. Kinda. It'll be interesting, but not too interesting. Blue.paradox, which is the same group name we gave it earlier. We want to make sure we keep this consistent. Blue.paradox, and then the same name. This can actually kind of be anything. Just make it related. I'm naming it tutorial 1. And then click OK. So now we have a new package in here. You know, it'll look like this. Don't worry about it. And it'll look like a hierarchy eventually, but not here. Now we want to make right-click new Java class, and we want to name this something that kind of has the name of the plugin in it. Tutorial 1 is what the name of the project is in general, and my biggest pet peeve with other plugin developers is they don't suffix their main class with plugin. If you don't do that, it's ugly, you're ugly, and you are a terrible developer. So you heard that from me. Go make fun of everybody who doesn't do this. Suffix it with plugin. It's good practice. Good naming conventions. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. There's no reason not to do it. So you can click Enter. It'll create the skeleton of a class for you, just not very much. After that, I like to put final here. You don't have to do that. I like to do that. Anyway, you want to make this class extend Java plugin, which is the nice abstract or interface, an abstract class that allows us to actually make a plugin, which gives us a lot of functions and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I said, or I might not have mentioned this, I'm not going to be teaching you how to write in Java. I'm not going to be teaching you anything to do with Java. I'm mainly only going to be going over the Spigot API. So if you need to learn Java, go somewhere elsewhere. There's cool videos like the new Boston, who videos are outdated, but they're still great. It's where I learned Java. And that's where I suggest you go. But there's probably more up-to-date tutorials. So ask around, Google around, you'll find one. There's some overridable functions in here. Most notably, there's a function called onEnable. I will give you $1 trillion PayPal if you can guess what this does. It took me 3 years and a trip down to Amesia to figure out what this does. Basically, it gets called whenever your plugin enables. I know, kind of fancy, kind of crazy. The name doesn't suggest that either. Crazy. Another function here is public on disable. If I could type, that'd be great. This, again, crazy, I know, but it gets called when the plugin disables, or mainly when the server disables and disables the plugins properly, doesn't get crashed or forcibly closed, which is why you should never just close the window whenever you're testing your plugins. The bad things can happen, this won't get called, just there's stop command for a reason. I'm not going to be using that today, we're going to be sticking in here. You also don't need that, but do it anyway, because that makes you a good person and makes your code more maintainable. So now we are going to actually do something kind of cool. It's not going to be fancy. You don't even have to have Minecraft open to see this, so, you know, it's not the craziest thing. But pretty much, we want to get access to the server, which Java plugin allows us to get access to the server, so it's a built-in function of that abstract class. And then we want to get the console sender, which, when you type in the console of a test server, you're pretty much sending it through as a console sender, so that gives you a little bit more of the context, or a little more feel of the context of what a console sender is. There you go. And then after that, we can tell it to send a message and give it a string, which is whatever you want to give it. I'm going to say hello spigot. This can be useful for a few things. It's like, for instance, if you have like a custom enchants plugin, you can maybe log every single time you load an enchant or something like that. But one thing that TechNerder from CodeVision told me to mention is that you should never use this to just say that your plugin is enabled or something stupid like that. No one cares, because Bucket does that for you, and all you're doing is duplicating something that Bucket's going to do for you anyway. It makes your plugin look stupid. Don't do it. It's ugly. Fills up the console with unnecessary stuff, and Spigot already spams the console with hundreds of lines of useless shit that nobody cares about, so you're not helping. Just stick to this. This is only for tutorial purposes. I don't think you'd ever really do anything like this. This is just to give you a feel of what a plugin is and where it's at contextually. After we're done with actually making the main class, there's one extra step that we have to take, which is go into the resources, new file, named plugin.yml, which is kind of like a configuration file for the plugin itself, which seems silly, but it has to be done because Bucket is also a little bit oddly designed. Anyway, first things first, we have to have a main, which is why I just copied that. We have to direct it to our main plugin, and then we have to name this tutorial1 plugin. Now, the reason why making a package is important and why you have to do this and try to name it something that has to do with you is because if you didn't have this and all you did was not make a package and you just threw a plugin in like the main Java file and you just name it this, the problem that arises is that if anyone else does the same thing, which is more likely than you think, and you decide to just name it also by suffixing it with plugin is nice, is because if you just name it main, that's going to cause a lot of problems, like a lot of problems. If anyone else does that and they don't have a package, Bucket's going to get confused, nothing's going to work. So make sure you do all of the fancy packages and then suffixing with plugin and something that's actually related to your plugin. Rubber Boy, I'm looking at you. Next thing you want to do is give yourself credibility. You don't have to put that there, but I do. Version 1.0 and name of your plugin. Pretty much actually just be the name of your main class minus the plugin suffix, because why not? I think it should default to that, but it doesn't. It's kind of stupid. Go yell at Spigot for that one. Okay, cool. So now you're 80% there. You have your main plugin class, you have your plugin.yml, so it knows where to load it, knows what to call it, knows who made it, and knows what version it is. Cool and great. If your Gradle thing is not on the side like mine is, just go to View, Tool Windows, and then Gradle. Then it's there. Tasks, build. This is how you actually compile your plugin. Just build. If you haven't used IntelliJ before, then there's your little help. Now it's going to export into a folder called libs instead of build, because Gradle is fancy, and now you have a file here. IntelliJ is also really great. You can just Control-C right from here. You don't have to go to your file explorer. Open up your test server. I put it here. Again, I'm not going to explain how to make a test server or anything like that. There's already hundreds of plugins out there. The only difference nowadays is literally the jar file and the name that you put in your start.bat. Go to your plugins folder, Control-V. Mine's already in there, so I had to replace it. And then we want to start the server. Also, why I'm not doing this on camera is because starting a server for the first time takes, time. And time that I'm not going to put this through because it's ridiculous. This usually takes a lot longer. Anyway, after that's all done, we get our little message here, which is why I told you don't add your own enabling message, because Bucket does this for you. and then right underneath we have hello spigot, which is exactly what we instructed it to do when our plugin enables. So there we go. There's your simple introductory plugin or tutorial to how to make a simple plugin for Spigot, how to export it, how to put it on your server, and how to have it load and all that good fancy stuff. Eventually, we're going to get into more advanced topics like commands, listeners, custom events, how to debug your code, NMS, custom entities, things like that. It'll get crazy cool in the future. You just got to know the basics before you can get to anything else. So hopefully you enjoyed this, learned a little bit, and are ready to continue on with the later iterations of this tutorial series. So yeah, later.